Hello again. Today we are evaluating exponential expressions. So I want to evaluate 1/5 raised to the x power, and I want to evaluate for when x is equal to -3 and for when x is equal to 4. So I will plug in -3, so that will be 1/5 raised to the -3rd power. Well, if you'll remember, a negative exponent is going to flip this fraction, which makes it 5/1, which is just 5, raised to the 3rd power. Well, 5 to the 3rd power is 5 times 5 times 5, and that's 125. So my first answer for when x is -3 is 125. Now let's evaluate this exponential expression for when x is 4. So we'll do 1/5 raised to the 4th power. Well, that's 1/5, and we can raise both the top and the bottom, the numerator and denominator, to the 4th power. Well, 1 to the 4th power is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, and that's still just 1. All right. 5 to the 4th power is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, and that is 625. So when x is 4, this expression's value is 1/625. And those are your answers. So let's say we have 2/3 raised to the x power, and I need to evaluate that for when x is -3 and for when x is 4. So first we will do x is equal to -3, so that'll be 2/3 raised to the -3rd power. Well, remember, a negative exponent is going to flip the fraction, so that puts 3/2, and we are going to cube the top and bottom. So the top will be 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27, and the bottom will be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So when x is -3, our expression's value is 27/8. Now let's evaluate for when x is 4. So 2/3 raised to the 4th power means that we raise 2 to the 4th power and 3 to the 4th power. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. And 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. So when x is 4, the value of this expression is 16/81. Here we have 5 times 1/3 raised to the x power. All right. And so I'm going to plug in -3 for x to evaluate this. So we'll do 5 times 1/3 raised to the -3rd power. And remember, a negative exponent is going to flip the fraction. So this becomes 5 times, well, 3/1 is 3. So this is 3 to the 3rd power. All right. So that becomes 5 times, well, 3 to the 3rd power is 27. 5 times 27 is 135. So when x is -3, this expression's value is 135. Now let's evaluate the expression for when x is 4. So I will replace the x with a 4. So this becomes 5 times 1/3 raised to the 4th power. Well, that's 5 times, it's 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. And if you'll remember, you multiply straight across when you multiply fractions. So this is going to be 5 times, well, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. But 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. And remember, when you multiply an integer by a fraction, you always just multiply the number by the top of the fraction. So our answer is 5/81. So when x is 4, our answer is 5/81. All right, here I have 0.2 raised to the x power. Well, if I have 0.2 and I raise it to the negative third power, well, that becomes 1 over 0.2 times 1 over 0.2 times 1 over 0.2. Another way to think of this is we could flip it first as 1 over 0.2 raised to the third power, and that's 1 over 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2, which is 0.008. But we can't leave this as a decimal on the bottom of a fraction. So I recommend plugging that into a calculator, which is actually 125. So when x is negative 3, this expression's value is 125. Now let's evaluate this expression for when x is 4. So 0.2 raised to the fourth power. Well, remember that that's 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2, which is 0.0016. So when x is 4, the answer is 0.0016. So here I have 4 times 0.3 raised to the x power. And we're going to evaluate for when x is negative 3. So 4 times 0.3 raised to the negative third power. Well, if I have 4 and I multiply this by the 0.3 raised to the negative third, remember that the negative is going to make this a fraction with 1 on top. All right, so what that's going to do is it's going to give us 0.3 raised to the third power on the bottom, which gives us 4 times 1 over 0.027, which is 4 over 0.027. Well, we can't leave this as a decimal on the bottom of a fraction, so we'll plug that in a calculator, which I would say is approximately 148.15. So when x is negative 3, this expression is worth 148.15. Now let's evaluate the expression for when x is 4. So 4 times 0.3 raised to the fourth power. Well, that's 0.3 times 0.3 times 0.3 times 0.3. So 4 times 0.3 raised to the fourth power is 4 times 0.0081. So 4 times 0.0081 is 0.0324. And that's the value of our expression when x is equal to 4. 0.0324. And that's how you evaluate exponential expressions.